Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City Council meeting. I open this meeting. If we could have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Edwards.
Here.
Councilmember Hagley.
Here.
Councilmember Kelly. Here. Vice Mayor Harrod.
Here.
Mayor Mitchell.
Here. Thank you. And if you could join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Participation.
That was great. Thank you. Motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
A second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Report on closed session. We did not have a closed session, so there's nothing to report. Announcements and presentations. Oh, boy. This is the best part, I think. So I get to read this and thank everybody. This year's Foss Creek cleanup was another great success and a wonderful reminder of how much our pride our community takes in our local environment. We had 82 volunteers join us this year, family, community groups, and local organizations, all working together to protect one of Healdsburg's most important natural resources. With the help of partners like the Rotary Club, Kiwanis Club, and the team from Stacy and Whitbeck Herzog, volunteers removed roughly 40 cubic yards of trash and debris from the creek and surrounding areas, everything from cigarette butts to tractor tires. Their efforts made a real difference in keeping Foss Creek healthy and beautiful for everyone. Each year, the Cred Cup is awarded to the group that demonstrates exceptional teamwork and spirit. This year's winner, Scout Pack 21. Love, love, love it. Truly embodied that spirit as they are here tonight. The pack turned out in full force, wearing matching uniforms, bringing great energy and setting a positive example for others along the creek. Their enthusiasm was contagious and a big part of what made the event so successful. So congratulations to Scout Pack 21 and thank you to everyone who volunteered to make this year's Foss Creek cleanup such a success. Congratulations. Can you all come up and get a picture with the City Council up here?
The mayor goes in the middle.
I'll go in the middle. We want to make sure everything.
You're gonna have to stay out that way.
Yeah. Maybe a little higher. Yeah, perfect. All right, 1, 2, 3.
When it straightened out the logo, it was freaking.
It was starting to creak. No, me too.
You know, there's somebody will see that.
Thank you all for all you've done and being here tonight. This is really wonderful. You can stay if you'd like, but the meeting will start to get more boring now. Okay. So thank you again. Next up, we have the city manager report. Jeff? Hard
Thank you.
act to follow, right?
Yeah, this will not be as much fun as that, but I'll do my best. I do have some good updates to share with you this evening. First off, I wanted to start by offering a welcome and an introduction to our new electric utility director, Jared Carpenter, who is here with us tonight. I'll ask him to come up and say hello in just a second, but I can provide a very quick introduction. The council's familiar with this, but for those as a reminder, or those who aren't, Jared comes to us from the Truckee-Donner Public Utility District, where he's been Director of Electric Power. He was previously a utilities manager with the Port of Oakland. He holds a Bachelor's of Science in Mechanical Engineering Technology and a Master's in Energy Systems from Northeastern University, a fellow New England native joining me on the team. And Jared's been an active member and a board member in the Northern California Power Agency for a number of years. That's really significant because, as I think the council knows, that's the umbrella agency that allows a small municipal power operation like ours to exist and procure power and be a part of power generation. So to have somebody with the resume to understand the technical nuances of this job and also understand the world that we exist in and the ecosystem that we're a part of in terms of networks and contacts and resources was a great find, and we feel very lucky to have found a candidate who possesses that experience and those skills. I'll also say, just through the interview process, something that became really clear to me is that Jared's just passionate about public power. He is excited about the kind of work that we do here and other small municipal power utilities do. So I think it's somebody, I know this council and many in our community are also very, very interested in the work we do as part of an electric utility. And I think they'll find somebody who's really eager to engage in those discussions and be creative and be strategic and think long term. So it's been I don't know how many months it's been, but it's been several months without a full-time dedicated director. So we're super happy to welcome Jared. And he's not here now, but I would be remiss if I didn't also say publicly, we're very, very grateful to Patrick Foos, who stepped up and served as interim director. As you all know, Patrick's a water guy and a great water guy, but it's quite a learning curve to be asked to just, keep the electric utility running for 6 months. But he did, and it was done really well. So thanks to Patrick, and I know that he is happy and relieved to go back to his normal duties. And we're just really super excited to welcome Jared to the team. So this is day number 1. And so we'll give him a little bit of time to get his feet under him, but I'll let him say a few words and say hello.
Yeah. Good evening. Nice to meet you all. I feel like I've known David for a long time, but the rest of you, I look forward to get to know you over time. And yeah, very excited to be here. I've visited this town many, many times the past 8-9 years. So always enjoyed it and very excited to be here. Wonderful place, good utility, good systems. Obviously, NCPA, I've been on their board since 2018. So very, very familiar with stuff there and also the projects you're involved in here. So excited to be here and look forward to getting to know all of you and happy to answer any questions. I think I toured the floating solar right here, I think around 2020 was first installed. It might have been 2019. It's hard to remember exactly when it was. Check my phone and see the pictures of it. But yeah, so very cool place. Looking forward to seeing what I can offer to help out here in any way.
Thank you and welcome. Yeah, this is a very important position. Healdsburg's, of course, very proud that we have our own utility, and the NCPA connection is always important. So we're really welcome. Does council want to say something too?
I wasn't prepared to say anything, but I'm really happy that you're here. I'm excited with the choice, and yeah, we've known each other for a long time, going back to Port of Oakland, and just hearing stories about the cranes and the push to go all electric at the port with some of the forklifts and different things, like being very proactive some of that, and especially like with some of the hydrogen things, the port was on the leading edge of a lot of those discussions. So I'm excited that you're here and now you're on Team Healdsburg at NCBA. So I'm looking forward to our trips back to DC advocating for public power. So welcome to Healdsburg. Glad you're here.
Thanks.
I just want to echo those sentiments and just say that we are delighted to have you. And I know maybe similar to other roles that you've had, but we have a very active and engaged community who are very much looking forward to working with you and learning from you. So I know there have been a number of residents who are like, is he here yet? Has he arrived? So I think folks who are tuning in from home will be delighted to know that you're officially day one. And thank you for joining our team. We're really looking forward to having you and your expertise guiding us. Thanks.
Yeah, I want to welcome you, and it's nice that we'll have a duo now when we're doing advocating in Washington, which I think is really advantage to us. And I hope you don't miss snow days because unfortunately, or fortunately, we don't have those here. So welcome.
I don't have too much to add. I think we met before the NCPA thing once or twice, so it's great to have you here. Obviously, an excellent fit for us professionally, and we hope you enjoy Healdsburg and feel welcomed here. And please let me, the others here, know if you ever want to have a conversation. We're super excited to have you on our team.
Well, I'm always around, happy to talk to any of the ratepayers or any of the customers. It's absolutely my pleasure. So it's I'm very happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you again. Yeah. You have more, Jeff?
I do. I have a few other updates quickly to share. First up, wanted to note a couple of things about next weekend. Next Sunday is Dia de los Muertos, our annual celebration. We'll kick things off around noon. Council can expect to see some information, I think, in the next day about hopefully being able to join us for the welcome. One thing I wanted to share is that there is an outside chance. It's looking better as the day's gone on, but there's an outside chance of some weather this weekend. So I don't have all of the details, but I want to assure you that our team and our partners are working on contingency plans. So we will celebrate this weekend. Might change a little bit depending on the weather, but we're working through that. Also wanted to note, this is not a city event, but on Saturday, I believe, is a grand opening celebration for True West Films. So obviously I know a lot of people are just excited about that as they've opened their doors and bring the movies back to Healdsburg. One thing in particular I wanted to share with the council, though, which is a little bit different than the movie side of things, is we've heard some feedback and we've been in really constant dialogue with the property owners about the walkway behind those properties, behind the old Bear Republic and now the theater near the trash enclosures, which is not in good shape. And my understanding is it hasn't been for some time. It's a challenging piece of land. It's owned by the city. It's part of the common area that is subject to the property. The properties themselves, one is owned outright by a private company. The other is a ground lease on city land, so with a very, very old agreement. So it's complicated, but we are working, and I think in very good faith with the property owners, trying to find a way to get that repair done. There was some hope that we might do it concurrent with the opening, and that obviously won't happen at this point. In addition to being kind of a complicated no man's land in terms of jurisdiction, it's an expensive project, probably getting close to $500,000 when it's all said and done. But all parties really recognize the value. So while I don't have a solution just yet, I want to assure you we're working on that. And the hope is that when the weather is better again in the spring, we're ready with some sort of a funding agreement, a partnership that we could bring to the council and give ourselves the option of getting that work done. So I suspect, like me, you all get questions about that. So I just wanted to let you know that it's still a need, but it is one that we're leaning into and hoping, and I think making some progress on. So I just wanted to share that, and hopefully that won't at all, and I'm sure that won't dampen the celebration of the grand opening this weekend. And then one other thing I wanted to share, this is a relatively new development, but I want to make sure the council is aware that we are planning this coming Wednesday, so just 2 days away, a prescribed burn at the Healdsburg Ridge open space. If that sounds like relatively short notice for it happening, you're right. It's actually a project that's been in the works for years and a need that's been established. But what we've gotten with rain last week and more rain, the rain I just mentioned that's coming, is a really opportune moment in time to be able to do some prescribed burn work. in a way that's safe and effective. There's already some moisture out there and there's more moisture coming. So our team, in partnership with CAL FIRE, saw an opportunity to get this done. And so our plan is to move forward on Wednesday. This would be up to 35 acres, so significant in terms of size. There is accumulated vegetation and hazardous fuels out there, and this would improve our shaded fuel break and strengthen defensible space for the community. So obviously, this is something we've been working on in a few different locations in recent years, including the Ridge, and this is a big opportunity to enhance that work. Undoubtedly, smoke will be visible throughout the community. We are getting better, I think, at getting information out to the community. We understand if there's not information about that prescribed burn, it can be concerning for people. So I think with each one, we get a little bit better. We recognize that with this one being on short notice, we'll need to probably double down on that, and we intend to. So our team's working hard on an outreach strategy. So I think you'll see messaging. I think we'll probably bring it door to door for people who are close, certainly online, social media, probably a mobile sign will be out there in the area alerting motorists. We have a couple of other ideas we're working through. So we'll do our best because the phone at the dispatch center always does ring when there's a fire, and we want to avoid any unnecessary alarm. But as I noted at the outset, we see a really great opportunity to address an area that's been a need for several years. So moving forward at this time, obviously weather has to stay right, but it looks favorable at this time. So we're moving forward with that. And I think you can expect to see a blitz of information go out in the next 24 hours, but wanted to let you know about that right now. And I think that is all I have, so I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions? Ariel?
I was surprised when we did the last prescribed burn. I can't remember if it was Fitch or the Fitch Mountain Villas, or that weekend, maybe it was both, but there were a number of people who were like, I wish I would have known about this sooner. I was so stressed out, even though it felt like the city had done a ton to try to get the word out. And I'm wondering, obviously not in time for Wednesday, but I know in other cities, I had asked a few different folks, like, what do you do to communicate to the public besides just the normal channels? And a number of different folks that I said, on different committees with, they said that they have a text alert that's not Nixle, it's not their public safety alert, but it's something else that texts out to contacts in their system. And I'm curious if we would ever consider doing texting as a form of communication in the future.
We certainly would. We're actually considering Nixle itself this week. I don't mention it. I mention it now because we wanted to do some due diligence today to make sure we can make that happen. But in the absence of another system, that's the surest way to get to people. Obviously, we try to be really judicious about when we use it, so it's taken very, very seriously. But I think there's a pretty good argument this qualifies. So that is something we're exploring. Is to get people texts for this very incident.
Great, thanks.
Anyone else with questions? No. If it rains, do we still do the burn?
I'm going to let the fire marshal take that one.
Good evening, Council. Lance McDonald, Fire Marshal. So we're actually, the window looks really favorable that we can get the burns in and then it's going to rain. And so one of the benefits of this time of year that we usually miss is the rain starts and then we're not able to burn. In this case, because we've had some drying, some favorable weather happening, we believe we'll be able to get the burn in, actually let it smolder for a few days and consume those fuels that have just built up over time and really have a good consumption of that fuel. And then the rain is going to come in and put it out for us the rest of the way. So Mother Nature, we've really wanted to do this, as the city manager Kay says, for the past few years. We've really been trying to do this and it just hasn't worked out. And this with this early rain, and then now a drying spell, and then predicted rain is kind of the perfect weather pattern for this.
That's great. I'm glad you can take the opportunity to do it. That's good.
Thank you. And just one more thing for Councilman McKelly. We do communicate directly with COPE groups via text. So COPE neighborhood groups will be getting text alerts as well. It doesn't incorporate, obviously, everybody in the city, but many COPE leaders share it with the neighborhoods. Parkland Farms, obviously, will be getting it, but as well as the surrounding neighborhoods. And I'm leaving this meeting and going over to a COPE meeting over at the community hall, community center to make this announcement as well. So we're trying to get the word out to as many people as possible. Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you. Anything else? No? Okay. So we'll move on to public comments on items on the consent calendar and non-agenda items. This time is set aside to receive comments from the public regarding matters of general interest not on the agenda, but related to City Council business. Pursuant to the Brown Act, however, the City Council cannot consider any issues or take any action on requests during this comment period. Do we have anyone who wishes to make a public comment? If so, please come to the podium. Come on up. Thank you. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Kim Lockhart. I'm the owner of River's Edge Kayak and Canoe. And my comment tonight is about the impending construction by SMART of replacing the railroad bridge next summer. The comment I wanted to make is that, you know, it's not necessary for there to be overlap between the construction and people being on the river. Just for us, we put out 4,000 people a year that go under the bridge to come back. And the way the process has been going is that there's been no willingness on the part of SMART to commit to any kind of schedule that would allow us to separate public use of the river from the construction. And so I wanted to put it out there that I'd really like the City Council to help facilitate that. I know that people do have a right to peace and quiet of their environment if there's state funding. And I would like to ask for help to get SMART to come to the table and make that a possibility so that people are not showing up with jackhammers and bulldozers and the pile drivers going on when they're not expecting it and when our customers are there for a peaceful and relaxing trip.
Thank you. Anyone else? Not seeing anyone, then I'll bring this back to the council and entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Can I ask a question about one of the items on the calendar? Would you prefer that I pull it to ask the question or just inquire now?
Which way can we go? Does it matter? Yeah, go ahead and ask.
I had a question about item 6D, the covenants for 34 Ward Street on the affordable housing component. And I was curious, it seems that the affordability levels are up to 160% of AMI, but I'm typically used to seeing, this is a question for Director Sotomayor, typically used to seeing those affordable housing restrictions be maxed at 120% of AMI. And I'm curious what, because this is with regard to our, and this is kind of in the context of the conversation we've been having about in smaller lot projects, when we were talking about this, when we were having the larger affordable housing conversation, talking about 10 or fewer lots and those kinds of things. So why is this one 160% AMI or lower for the lot as opposed to 120?
Thank you, Stephen Sotomayor, Housing Director. Question for that is that this product is a for sale product. And so falling under our code, it can go up to 160. You'll find in the for sale products that in order to achieve a for sale price that you're going to have to go a little bit beyond that 120%. But mainly following mainly following the inclusionary ordinances that outlines the AMIs.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. So good with that?
I guess then my next question is who gets to decide what the AMI is? Because we know that there's some for sale products that are at 80% or 120%. Is it what the developer proposes or it's what the city proposes? Because just out of curiosity, I mean, obviously this is we're entering into this and it's going to run with the land for 55 years and we're putting it on consent. But it feels like if this is kind of how we'll do it going forward, it'd be good to know kind of what the policy is on having 160 versus 80 or another number.
Sure, and I think in this case, it's up to that 160, right? So the price could fall below that, but in this scenario, we're allowing up to that 160. Falls within that missing middle category. So in the future, when we do have for sale, like a similar product, that would still be the case, yes.
So when we've had other developments, like I think Farm Stand or others, it maxed at, I think it was like 120 when it was a for sale unit. Maybe those are for rent, actually, now that I think about it.
There's-
We've had a lot of others like Chiquita Grove that became something else with a new name. Just, I've never seen 160 before as we've done it this way. And so since that maybe exists in the inclusionary housing ordinance, obviously, but it's not something we've ever talked about, I'm just wondering, is this what it's going to be going forward for all for sale?
Sure. And so, yeah, in the farm stand one, there was a duplex that was for rent. And those were split between 80 and 120. And then the for sale units that have not been built yet would go into a trust up in that missing middle category. So those would also be in this category. And so, yeah, moving forward, this would be the range that we would look at for those categories.
And if that was something that we wanted to have a conversation about because we're interested in keeping affordability lower, what's the right avenue to have that policy conversation?
I think we're relooking at our inclusionary housing ordinance now, and that might be the proper avenue to take a look at that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Can I ask Stephen, are these like measure P or S or units, the for sale up to 160, the missing middle?
It falls within that general AMI category, but these are inclusionary.
Okay, okay, thank you.
I move to improve the consent calendar.
Second?
Can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Edwards?
Yes.
Councilmember Higley?
Yeah.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Harrod?
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell?
Yes, thank you. Okay, so now we do not have any public hearings. Old business, 8A, professional services agreement with Mark Thomas and Company. Principal Engineer Kay Thistle and Senior Project Manager Terry Zillwinger, sorry.
We'd start on slide 1. I think you're on 2. Yeah, thank you. Good evening, Mayor, council members, Clay Thistle, Public Works Principal Engineer, here tonight to present to you US 101 Dry Creek Road Project Initiation Document Phase. Go ahead, Raina. To begin the PID phase, staff is recommending that council take 5 actions. Approve a professional service agreement with Mark Thomas for engineering services. Approve a funding agreement with Sonoma County Transportation Authority. Approve a cooperative agreement with Caltrans for review and approval of the project initiation document. Authorize the city manager to execute the agreements and amend the budget to fund the PID phase of the project. These 5 actions, when combined, officially begin the project in the Caltrans process and launch the city on its way toward improving the interchange. These are primarily administrative. However, due to the overall magnitude and complexity of the project and the duration since council has received an update on the project, a presentation seemed beneficial. Next slide. The Dry Creek Road corridor is one of the busiest in the city. The current interchange cannot accommodate existing traffic volumes and future volumes. The pavement is in need of rehabilitation, and pedestrian and bicycle facilities are lacking or non-existent. Next slide. The US 101 Dry Creek Road interchange is located within the County of Sonoma, Caltrans, and the city right-of-way. Being that the project is located within the Caltrans right-of-way, the project is required to follow a specific Caltrans process. In 2020, to identify a project to resolve those traffic delays and improve bicycle and pedestrian facilities along the way and position the project for Caltrans process, the feasibility study was conducted. The study proposed a project consisting of either roundabout couplets or coordinated traffic signals along with sidewalk and bicycle facility upgrades. The study was presented to council with council preferring a roundabout couplet option. Next slide, please. Consultant engineering services are needed for the PID phase of the project. To fulfill this need, staff requested proposals from qualified consultant firms with relevant experience and knowledge. 3 qualified firms submitted proposals. Staff evaluated the proposals and convened a review panel made up of the city, Sonoma County, Caltrans, and SCTA to interview the potential consultant teams. Mark Thomas was determined to be the most qualified. David Williams, the Mark Thomas project manager, had intended to be here and present the next couple of slides, but became ill over the weekend and unfortunately will not be able to make it. David has completed numerous projects along the 101 corridor and has come highly recommended. In his absence, I will walk you through the next couple of slides. So the Caltrans process consists of 4 major phases: the project initiation document, or PID phase, the project approval and environmental document phase, the PA&ED, plan specification and estimate, along with the right-of-way acquisition phase, or PS&E and right-of-way phase, and ultimately culminating in the construction phase. Next slide, please. So what is this PID and this PID phase? Work on the state highway requires a project initiation document, or PID, as the initial phase of work. The PID will build upon the 2020 feasibility study. The PID will confirm the project purpose and need, refine project alternatives, define expected environmental documents, define the environmental approach, document stakeholders and public input, identify right-of-way and utility impacts, and update the cost estimate along with developing a project delivery schedule. Next slide, please. The 2020 feasibility study proposed either the roundabout, as mentioned, the roundabout couplet, or coordinated traffic signals. It is understood that council's preference is the roundabout couplets. However, the PID process requires continuing forward with analysis of both options, with a preferred option anticipated to be selected in the PA&ED phase. Next slide. Being that it has been more than 5 years, just a quick look back at those 2 alternatives. What you're seeing on the slide is that the coordinated traffic signals, so traffic signal at the both ramps and also coordinated with the signal at Grove. Next slide. And then again, just the roundabout couplet option. So the 2 options, just reminding everyone since it's been such time. Next slide. Just so now I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Senior Project Manager, Terry Zwellinger.
Thank you very much. So as Clay mentioned, the PID phase is the starting point for the future phases of the project. This coming summer, we should finish the PID phase and receive the results of potential grant funding for design and construction of the project. Depending on the future grant funding, construction could start as early as 2030 and should take about a year to complete. Next slide. Tonight, we are asking council to approve 5 items. We've covered the RFP and contract with Mark Thomas, and with that action, there are 2 agreements to be approved. The first is a cooperative agreement with Caltrans. Because a portion of the work is located within Caltrans right-of-way, not only does the city need to follow Caltrans' delivery process, but all documents need to be prepared, reviewed, and approved in consultation with Caltrans. The city will enter into a cooperative agreement with Caltrans for each phase of the work, and this first phase is the PID phase. Caltrans estimates their staff time to be about $213,000 for their staff to review and approve the PID document. The second agreement is a funding agreement with Sonoma County Transportation and Climate Authorities, SCTCA. The city was awarded a $500,000 grant with SCTCA to help fund the PID phase. Approving the funding agreement allows the city to appropriate the funds for this phase of the project. Next slide. The fiscal impact of tonight's actions is $700,000. That consists of the agreement with Mark Thomas, the cooperative agreement with Caltrans, and staff time for this phase of the work. The funding will come from the approval of the $500,000 grant from SCTCA and $200,000 from the city's Traffic Impact Fee Fund. The money in the Traffic Impact Fee Fund is slated specifically for this project. Next slide. So to help with design and construction costs of the project, staff submitted an application in August of this year to request $12.7 million in grant funding. Sonoma County has committed to providing $2 million in construction, and our city match would be $1.8 million, being again paid out of that traffic impact fee fund. We should be notified about the grant results in summer of next year. So even if we do not get that grant, we have enough money in the traffic impact fee fund to fund the project through the design phase. And in that instance, we could do design, finish that, have a shovel-ready project, and pursue other grant opportunities for construction. Next slide. So to recap our presentation, before you tonight is a resolution approving administrative actions to get the PID phase started. It's the professional services agreement with Mark Thomas, 2 cooperative agreements, the authority for the city manager to execute these agreements, and a budget amendment to fund the project. And that concludes our presentation. We are open for questions if you have any.
Thank you. It's always interesting to be on the council when we're looking at 2030 things that we're planning on, but do we have questions from council? Councilmember Edwards?
Yeah, having spent some time out there, that definitely is an intersection. And I know that we have upcoming projects. Dry Creek was approved in 2021 after this. Will there be an additional traffic study? Because I'm a little concerned that a roundabout will just filter more traffic to that stoplight at Dry Creek and Grove. Will there be an additional study on this I know the roundabouts are nice, but I have a concern about that traffic congestion.
Sure, and I think that's all part of the process, and going through the Caltrans process is quite thorough. So there will be all those additional studies and the continuing forward with at least the 2 alternatives and analyzing them both.
All right, thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, regarding the 2 alternatives, is there going to be some opportunity, perhaps outside of the city council meetings, for public input on those 2 ideas?
Yes, absolutely. So as part of this project initiation document phase, there is a public engagement and stakeholder engagement components. It is envisioned that there will be some pop-up community engagement meetings, also probably a web page and some interactive survey, and then again, potentially coming back to council and reporting out, on the updated status.
And roughly when do you think that might occur? Is it?
So the tentative schedule for the PID phase, is going to take approximately 9 months, 6 to 9 months. So I would envision that those public engagement phases would occur, within the first 3 months of the project.
Thank you.
I just wanted to ask, I know to Councilmember Edwards' point about doing a new study and evaluating some of the traffic impacts. I know we have a couple of development projects on the north end of town, like North Village, that's going to be completed soon, and new residents moving into the affordable apartments there, along with the over 100 units of affordable housing, exciting, that are getting built at Saggio Hills, and potential future housing development at Montage as those lots get built out. So is the quantity of new development and potential of population increase also going to be evaluated? And that's something you guys are taking into account?
So a lot of those developments were included, in the initial data used for the feasibility study, but I think definitely they will be back checked to make sure that they're accurate, with the assumptions that were used, and then any updates that are needed would be made.
Okay, great, thank you.
I just had a question about the competitive nature of the grant that we've applied for, and how competitive are we within that, or do you know even yet?
I mean, I can speculate. I feel that we put together a pretty robust grant proposal for this project, and really joining with the county, and the county really coming forward and committing funds for the construction phase, I think really makes us competitive. This is a project that the county would like to see done too, but I think it has a more impact for us as the city, and us willing to really take the lead as the project lead. I think it shapes us well for a successful grant.
And is the county commitment part of the grant application? So it's in writing?
We don't have a funding agreement with the county, but they have verbally and, via email committed those funds.
Okay, thank you. If we have no further questions from council, I'll open this up to public comment. If there's anyone who would like to comment on this item, please come up to the podium. Not seeing anyone, so we'll close public comment. If we have any further comments, or if someone would like to make a motion, we've got, 5 different items within that one resolution? Okay. You want to do that?
Do we do these individually? I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution approving a professional service agreement with Mark Thompson for engineering services in the not to exceed amount of $407,115.07.
And can we do them all together? Is there any reason we need to do them individually?
Okay.
Yeah.
Also approving a cooperative funding agreement with the Sonoma County Transportation and Climate Authorities in the amount of $500,000. Also approving a cooperative agreement with Caltrans in a not to exceed amount of $213,000 for review and approval of the PID. Also authorizing the city manager to execute the agreements. And finally, amending the adopted fiscal year 2025 to 2026 budget.
Second.
Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Edwards?
Yes.
Councilmember Hagley? Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Harrod?
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell?
Yes. Thank you both for that. We'll see you more, I'm sure,
Yeah.
in the near future, hopefully. Okay, and so moving on to item 8B, Capital Improvement Program and Appropriations for Continuing Projects. We have 2 council members who need to recuse from this item, as I understand.
Yes, I need to recuse because I live within 500 feet of the Saggio Hills Park Development Project, which is how it's identified in the agenda. So out of an abundance of caution, I'll be recusing on this item.
Thank you.
And I need to recuse because I live within 500 feet of the Grove Street undergrounding project and roadway project for similar reasons.
Thank you. So we'll have the recusals leave the room and bring them back when we're done. Meanwhile, Katie Edgar, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Katie Edgar, Finance Director, here tonight to present an update on the Capital Improvement Program as we enter the second year of our 2-year budget. Next slide, please. The proposed action tonight is to receive a presentation on the Capital Improvement Program and adopt a resolution approving amendments to the fiscal year 25-26 budget to reestablish appropriations for continuing projects. Next slide, please. A total of 9 capital projects were completed in fiscal year 24-25. 3 of those projects were completed by the Public Works team, including the Fire Substation Project, the Cabernet Road Culvert Replacement Project, and the e-bike share pilot program. The Fire Substation Project was several years in the making, starting the design phase in the hands of Comstock before transitioning to the city in fiscal year 22-23 for the launching of the construction phase. The construction was finalized 2 years later for a total of $6.9 million. The project leveraged approximately $3.4 million of funding from the neighboring developments at the North Village and the Saggio Hills through contributions outlined in the development agreements. The Public Works staff also managed the replacement needs of the utility infrastructure and recently completed the replacement of 2 failing culverts on Cabernet Road. The project was initiated at the end of fiscal year 23-24 and was completed within a year for a total of $363,000. Next slide, please. The electric department completed 5 capital improvement projects in fiscal year 24-25 to expand services in support of new development and upgraded commercial and residential facilities. The Mill District development at the south end of the city and the North Village development at the north end required the installation of major new infrastructure, while the William Salem Winery, Montage Resort Events Building, and the Wayfair Vineyards Electrical Upgrades Project included upgrades to existing electrical infrastructure to support the additional capacity. The projects totaled approximately $1.3 million and were fully funded by the respective private parties receiving the benefits. Next slide, please. The community service team successfully completed the Fitch Mountain Parks and Open Space Preserve project that established public access to the Fitch Mountain with a picnic area and trailhead. Improvements were also made to the parking lot and the dog park, and design on the project was started in fiscal year 21-22, and construction was completed 3 years later for a total of approximately $3 million. The project funding included $1.8 million in grants from the Coastal Conservancy and State Proposition 68 funding. Next slide, please. There are a total of 28 projects that have continued in fiscal year 25-26, and amendments are proposed tonight to reestablish the remaining project appropriations. Public Works is responsible for 15 of these projects, with the first 2 being airport projects. The city has successfully secured grant funding from the FAA and leveraged Caltrans funding for a portion of the matching requirements, resulting in 97% of the total budget for both projects coming from outside sources. The taxiway pavement rehabilitation project is currently under construction with an estimated completion in spring 2026, and the runway pavement rehabilitation project is currently in design with construction anticipated to begin in spring of 2027. Next slide, please. Public Works also has 7 street projects currently underway, representing $6.9 million in appropriations to rebudget. Approximately 57% of the project funding is from outside sources, with $3.7 million from county and federal grants and $200,000 of developer contributions. The remaining project funding consists of $1.7 million in Measure T funds and $1.3 million of SB1 RMRA funding. 5 of the projects are currently in the design phase, with the Grove Street Neighborhood Plan Implementation Project and the Ward Street Neighborhood Revitalization Project anticipated to move into construction in summer 2026. The March Avenue Reconstruction Project and the Powell Ave Johnson Street Pedestrian Enhancements Project are expected to begin construction in winter 2026, with the Healdsburg Ave Complete Streets Project following along in spring 2027. The sidewalk repair and gap closure project is currently in the closeout phase, and the Healdsburg Ave Mill District Connectivity Project is in pre-design, with the final scope pending the outcome of recent grant applications. Next slide, please. On the utility side, Public Works has 6 projects totaling $6.7 million to rebudget in fiscal year 25-26. Grant funding accounts for $2.2 million of the appropriations, impact fees $2.5 million, and utility rate revenue the remaining $2 million. The Municipal Recycled Water Pipeline project was just recently completed in the summer of 2025. The Dry Creek Water Treatment Plant updates and the Grant Street Water Improvement projects are currently under construction and are anticipated to be completed in fall 2025. The Healdsburg Ave utility replacements are scheduled to begin construction in fall 2026, and the Brown Street Sewer and Water Replacements project is following closely behind in winter 2026. The Groundwater Supply Wells ASR project is proposed to be rebudgeted to account for additional closeout work that occurred in summer under the existing BRIC grant. And once the grant is finalized, the remaining appropriations will be released, and future progress will be pending the results of the recent grant application to the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. Next slide, please. The electric department has 3 city utility projects that are currently underway, accounting for $2 million of appropriations to be rebudgeted. The projects are funded entirely by electric utility revenue and electric public benefit funds. The electric public vehicle charging station project is largely complete, with final project closeout anticipated in fall 2025. The underground Grove Street project is estimated to award a construction contract in spring 2026, and the underground Healdsburg Ave project will follow behind in summer 2026. Next slide, please. The electric department also completes electric reimbursable projects that are associated with the expansion of services, and the timeline of these projects are dependent upon the timeline of the private development and can vary largely. The 155 Dry Creek Affordable Housing Project being completed by Burbank, the Freeport Affordable Housing Project being completed at Saggio Hills, the 3 Healdsburg Avenue apartments, and the North Village Parcel 4 are all in various stages of construction, with the electric utilities prepared for installation when appropriate. The Foss Creek properties are currently in the pre-construction phase, pending additional progress and planning with the developers. Next slide, please. Community Services has 4 projects currently in progress that account for $6.8 million in appropriations that need to be rebudgeted. 43% of the project funding is from outside sources, including $1 million in state and county grant funding and $1.9 million in contribution from developments. City funding from various sources accounts for the remaining $3.9 million in project funding. This winter, the Foley Pavilion at 3 North Street is anticipated to be completed, and the Laura Fish Somersall Park Development Project is anticipated to award a construction contract. In spring of 2026, the Badger Park Redevelopment Project and the Community Center Resiliency Hub Improvements Project, also known as the Multicultural Center Improvements Project, are expected to enter the design phase. Next slide, please. The city received $560,000 of state grant funding through the Pro Housing Incentive Program to complete the rehabilitation of the city-owned Victory Studios and apartments. The scope includes exterior renovations, installation of HVAC in all 4 units, and updates to the fire sprinkler system. The project is currently wrapping up design, and a construction contract is anticipated to be awarded in fall of 2026. Next slide, please. In total, the proposed budget amendment reestablishes $23.6 million in appropriations across 28 projects. Grants account for 32% of the project funding at $7.5 million. Contributions related to development account for 15% at $3.6 million, and city funding sources, including utility rate revenue, special revenue funds, and various taxes and fees, account for the remaining 53% at $12.5 million. There are 7 projects currently in construction that are anticipated to be completed in 2026, and 12 projects that will be entering the construction phase in the current fiscal year or in early next year. While the city has been very successful in leveraging grant funding to complete a wide range of projects, it is common that we identify funding gaps at the time of construction contract award. There are several projects already anticipated to require additional funding based on the current engineering estimates. As we prepare for the budget planning cycle for fiscal years 26 through 28, balancing the city's limited resources will continue to be a significant challenge. Next slide, please. In closing, the proposed action tonight is to approve amendments to the fiscal year 25-26 budget for the continuing capital improvement projects. Next slide, please. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for that. Do we have questions? Councilmember Edwards.
Yeah, I wanted to find, it's mainly around financing. Are we set? I know that we were in a lawsuit against the federal government for the FAA funds. Are we getting those funds, or it's kind of a, we'll wait and see still?
Both, I suppose. We are getting those funds.
Okay.
And everything is proceeding well with those projects. You heard one of them is under construction. One is getting there, I think. So far, everything's been fine. I just say wait and see, and that we never know what shoe might drop next. But as of now, those projects and that grant funding is good.
Okay.
And your question preempts an update that I was planning to send to the council shortly on that litigation. So I'll just give that update now, and perhaps send it for the council members who aren't here. And oh no, give me just 1 second, please. I just pushed too many buttons. Alrighty, here we go. The court has granted the second preliminary injunction in the sanctuary litigation, which prohibits the federal government from withholding or conditioning city grants based on sanctuary-related policies. So that means that in theory, the federal government is not permitted to withhold those funds, whether they are actually flowing to cities. It sometimes may take a minute for the actual funding to catch up with the court ruling. But for now, legally, they are not permitted to withhold the funds.
So we can hold them accountable for those funds.
That's correct.
Okay. And then my second question is, in the staff presentation under the financial, it said that $3.6 million is attributed to donations and development contributions. I know what the development contributions are, but is our community aware of donations that can be made to projects, and how would they even know that donations are available?
So the donations was in reference to the Foley Community Pavilion project that was largely funded by a donation. I think the other project that we have discussed donations before was the Saggio Hills projects, and there is, I believe, a donation policy under the parks and how you can donate towards different components of a project.
Okay, and that would be available through the city manager or park and rec department if somebody wanted to come forward with a donation?
Well, that would be a good start. I'd say either department would be receptive. I do want to note, though, that we are not actively as city staff soliciting donations. So we're an opportunity to emerge. We could pounce. And obviously our track record is pretty good in the aforementioned donation. But it would be to actively solicit those funds would be a change in approach. And that would be something I think we'd want to talk about in this room as a group, because it would be a different policy approach.
Yeah, I'm not thinking of active, I'm thinking of members of the community. And so unfortunately, I'm going through establishing end-of-life things with my mom. And so there are donations and things that people might want to do and not aware of that we're always available, but not actively seeking. So thank you.
Vice Mayor, questions?
I have sort of a global sort of question here. I know these sorts of amendments are sort of routine and normal. Is there anything that's happening currently that, you know, you'd like to identify as unique with regards to this particular amendment session and so on? I mean, just to get a global sense from you of how things may be different now than they were last time we got this sort of presentation.
I think we have a lot more projects that are in the construction phase, with all of those projects that are about to enter. Last year, we were just barely entering the design phase. So we are definitely seeing a lot more appropriations that are ready to roll over, and a lot more projects that are about to need more.
Thank you. Perfect.
And I just want to clarify, when you talk about winter 2026, we're talking fiscal year 25, 26, right? So we're talking about winter of now?
Yes. So all of the years for the construction phases are just calendar years. So winter 2026 would be current. Yes.
Oh, so winter 2026, we're talking about fully being done in winter of 2026. I thought that was going to be, isn't this winter of 2025 coming up?
I'm sorry, I think that was a typo. It is supposed to be 2025.
Okay, good, because I was getting worried. There was one other project on there that said winter 2026 too. I don't remember which one it was. Yeah, March Avenue. That might be right. I don't know. Is it going to be next year?
I believe that is the anticipation for March Avenue. A construction, not completion.
Okay.
So our anticipation is to award the construction contract for for the March project in February of 2026. So I'll be here shortly.
Okay. What was the other one though? I got to go back and look and see if I can find it.
For community services, it was the Foley Pavilion completed in winter 2025, with the Laura Fish Summersall Park going into construction winter 2026.
And that is accurate. Okay. So it's just the Foley Pavilion. Okay.
My
Thank you.
apologies.
No, that's fine. That's my question. So I'll open this up to public comment. If anybody wants to come forward and comment on this. I'm not seeing any. Please come forward to the podium. Not seeing anyone, so we'll bring it back for a motion.
I'd like to propose a motion to adopt a resolution approving amendments to the fiscal year 2025-26 budget as presented.
Second.
And roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Edwards?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Harrod?
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Katie. And we can bring our other two council members in. Could someone tell them they can come back? Oh, here they come. I see them. Welcome back. Okay, welcome back. So we'll move on to item 8C, City Council Manual of Procedures and Protocols. Assistant City Manager April Mitz and City Clerk Raina Allen.
Great, thank you very much. So as the title says, it is a City Council Protocol Review and just an update of what we've done to date. Next slide. Quick background on this. As part of the City Council adopted goals, it was to update the City Council governance protocols. On August 4th, City Council did appoint a subcommittee of Mayor Mitchell and Councilmember Kelly. And since that time, we've met with the subcommittee and two to three staff members to review where we were at in the process. Next slide. So here's some progress we made. As you noted in some of the earlier staff reports on the update to the protocols, a lot of these particular items were just administrative in nature, and everything will come back to City Council in one bundled packet in a red line version, so you don't need to keep tracking everything here, but I just want to make you aware of everything that we've worked on to date. We have worked to update all the language in the protocols to become gender neutral. We've updated the protocols for receiving and disseminating written public comments. We've updated the protocols for City Council correspondence, for the timing of completing the minutes, rules of recusal. You saw some of those in action tonight. The voting on non-resolution items, the public hearing process, City Council goals update, how often they'd be coming back to council, and then meeting agendas, which include the content and the order, placing items on the agenda, the style of the minutes, removing items from the consent calendar, and then finally proclamations. So that's everything that the subcommittee and staff have reviewed to date. Next slide. So tonight we're really looking for council feedback really on one item, but these two are similar enough we wanted to lump them together and just to at least present it to you. So we wanted feedback on the legislative matters, which has to do with anything state and federal, and then ballot measures, which is really local serving. The next slide. So for legislative matters, this is more of an informational update because we do currently have a policy on legislative matters. So on January 19th of 2021, City Council did adopt a legislative procedure manual as well as an annual legislative agenda. And part of the manual, what it does, it provides guidance to staff on taking advocacy positions on behalf of the city. A lot of times we'll get news alerts, we'll get something through from the League of California Cities asking us, and usually it's kind of a last minute right before a session goes in. And so this really gives us the framework for staff to be able to do it on an administrative level. And in particular, the general principles really, it does revolve around funding. So the first is to maximize revenues from the state and federal sources. It's to secure greater flexibility over the use of those funds. And then the last thing is to lessen any adverse impact of state or federal policies. So that's something that the City Council has already put in place, and we are looking at updating it again. City Council did the initial one in 2021, which is called the Annual Legislative Agenda. In 2024, they updated a legislative platform. Those two are the same documents, just a slight difference in the name. So I just want to make sure everyone was aware of that. As of now, city staff, we will look at reviewing this probably over the next year, and then we will bring it to City Council, like was done before, for discussion and direction and approval of just the updated legislative platform. Next slide. So this is really the crux of what we're here to talk about tonight, is to get the City Council discussion and direction on local level ballot measures. Right now, we don't have any policy on this. So if a local ballot measure is brought to City Council for taking a position on, whether for or against, it follows the same rules of protocol, which would be majority. And so this was an item that the council subcommittee and the staff wanted to bring to the full council for consideration and discussion. And so there's really two things that the council can do. They can elect not to take a position on a local ballot measure. So that could be an overarching policy where we just don't take any position on it. Or we can elect to take positions on local ballot measures. And if that is the preferred case for City Council, does the council want to require a simple majority on a position, require a supermajority on a position, or require a unanimous, the council to be unanimous before it will take a position on a particular local ballot measure? In regards to any of the options that council really wants to go with, we do recommend the council memorialize any decision, whether it be in a standalone policy or as part of the protocols. So with that, I do want to turn it over to Mayor Mitchell and then also Councilmember Kelly, if they'd like to add any other commentary on this, and then I will turn it over to City Council for your discussion direction. And then I have one follow-up slide at the end, just talking about the next steps.
Great, yeah, no, I'd like to wait and hear what the council has to say before I weigh in my thoughts. Do we have questions, comments? Vice Mayor?
I just want to make it clear that that we're just talking about ballot measures and not positions on other, issues that are up within the community on the news and so on. We're just talking about measure this or that and nothing outside of that particular direction, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure what else there would be that we would be
Like if we were going to
opining
do a
on.
political resolution around a global issue or a national issue,
yeah.
which is different.
Yeah.
We're just talking about something that's on the ballot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And by local, you mean Sonoma County. So it could be like we did with Measure J, or it could be Measure O or anything else. I mean, those are different if it's local, but if it's like a citizen one, whether we're going to support or not, is that,
Yes.
we're not talking about state level.
No, we're talking, well, we could. And I say, no, yes, but look at Prop 50, right? That's a state level that we may or may not want to talk about. So it could be that too. That's why this is a little bit tricky. And of course, we know that the reason this got on here was my request during the Measure J discussion, that I felt that when we're talking for the city as the council, that unless everybody agrees to it, that we shouldn't do it, because it's such a statement for the city and the council. So, and I think the next one that could come, we've taken positions on ballot measures for taxes and so on, like the kids recently Measure I. So yeah, we find ourselves in this position more often than we used to, I think, being asked to support or not. So anyway. Go ahead.
So just, I mean, my personal feelings are, I think limiting it to just county, like keeping it local, I think is important. I mean, it could be an endless loop of, if you're talking statewide and national, I think, really our job is local, what impacts the city of Healdsburg. And I think from that lens, it's important in terms of, supermajority, simple majority, unanimous. I mean, I tend to feel like right now there are projects we vote on that proceed, or different things that we vote on that are simple majority. And I feel like from a consistency standpoint, if I'm on the losing end, I vote against something. When the vote is over, that's the council decision. I support the decision. And, I guess with the ballot measures, I could see where if I'm on, disagree with something, like you were on Measure J, where it'd be frustrating, but, that's kind of democracy. And we, voted, and it's all right. The council takes the position, and so I'd be comfortable with being consistent with how we vote on, everything else with a simple majority with that. It doesn't mean that you can't make your feelings known and your position felt. And I think, we as elected officials need to respect and appreciate differences of opinion. But that's kind of where I'm coming from.
And just to respond to that, I think, yes, on resolutions that are specific to the city, and the simple majority makes sense to me, but these are things we don't have to do. They're like, it's a resolution that is not something, it's sort of outside the purview of the city business. And so we're saying this is what we think for the city about this other thing that's not city business. And that I think it should be kind of a higher bar if the council is going to take that kind of a position, rather than the simple majority, because I don't know, we're sort of speaking for the city at that point, and if there's one council member, I mean, I would want it to be unanimous, and I'm guessing that's probably not where the council wants to go with this, but I would think that it would be better to look at that, to have a higher bar for making that kind of comment or decision for the council. Chris?
I lean toward unanimous for the same reasons, though I'd like to kind of consider or hear people out in terms of what the negative impacts would be if, we, one person dissented in a vote and we did not support the action, and, what's the negatives on that, other than that we just don't make a statement and we don't have a position. It's not that it's a yes or no position so much. As I think the question there is, are we presenting neutrality, which is probably fine, given the fact that this is sort of extra, like you framed it. But I don't understand, if we did that, how that would affect our business and our responsibilities. And that brings up my second point, which is I'm trying to tune into what the citizens of Healdsburg expect us to be. And so when we're running for election, I think it's pretty clear that people aren't expecting us to take on expertise and positions on issues that are outside of the city purview, right? And so some of them are, some kind of expect us to stand up and mirror their passion for an issue that's outside of the city, and understand that they have that request. However, I think, in general, when you're running for election in the city of Healdsburg, you're talking about city of Healdsburg stuff, and that's really what counts for. And so when we start to take on other things, I think you're basically running up against what any particular candidate, this group or anybody else, has presented to the voters of Healdsburg. So that's part of why I think that higher bar is warranted, because this really is kind of stepping outside of the bounds of what we do. I mean, I know it's happened a lot of times where the council has taken a position on ballot measures, but I would agree that it should be extraordinary and that we should have full agreement on that. I think, I'm open-minded on this. I mean, there might be someone might want to respond to what I just said, to say, oh no, if we don't approve of something like this, such and such could happen to the city or to the council.
Ron?
I think it's almost irrelevant, because I believe that the citizens are looking at us to have a discussion of us being public officials, that we take time to look at issues that affect the city. And so maybe they do not have the time, and they look to us to have a discussion to help them make up their mind. They can see the different opinions. And so the discussion, to me, is more important than the vote itself, because it's the questions we bring up that they might go on, I didn't think about that, or this may affect me this way, because we are generally more aware of city issues, county issues, because those county issues can affect our residents. So I think the discussion is the most important part. However, going back and looking at Dave, what Councilman Hagley brought up was the consistency in how we do things. So if we have a consistent majority vote, then that is consistent throughout it. And again, if you are a resident looking and listening to the discussion, you may be against it, but you've got to hear the discussion. So whether we all agree, some agree, the important part is the discussion. So that's where I'm looking at it from.
I appreciate the robust discussion, and as we sit here with one amazing member of the public still with us tonight, and maybe a couple online, I just want to say that while I would love the idea that people are tuning in for the discussion, I maybe would think sometimes, especially when these items are later in the agenda, we tend to lose people. So I don't know how much people would really be paying attention to the nuance of the discussion, although I really wish they would, because that's where you really get to the meat of the issue. But what I will say is that, I think for example, we know that there is a ballot initiative right now to recertify the smart sales tax. And if the smart sales tax doesn't go forward, the smart train will cease to exist. And there are people, I'm just giving you an example, a real world example that may, potentially come to us. There are people in this world who are anti-tax, period. They do not think we should pay taxes on specific things that should be funded through other sources, right? They're just full on anti-sales tax, things that we're already paying too much in taxes. They don't ride the train, doesn't impact them, et cetera. And so we could very well have a council member sitting up here now who feels that way, or a colleague in the future who feels that way. Those people certainly have a voice. They are important. But I also think you're going to be weighing on balance the future of something that we've already invested a lot of money in. Obviously, I'm on the SMART board. I'm a little bit biased around, the hope that the train's coming to Healdsburg and will operate once it gets here. But so I think you may have opinions that are valid and represent other voices in this community, just as I think, Mayor Mitchell, when she spoke out, very clearly against or in support of Measure J. I'm trying to remember if it was against or in support, but do you know what I mean? In a minority opinion, I think that her voice is very representative of a cross-section of our community who feel that way and felt that way about Measure J, which is why I got on the ballot through a citizens initiative to gather signatures. And so all that to be said, I think it would be possible and likely that we would have, we would not be able to reach a unanimous vote on certain issues because of people's, general stance. And I think that's okay. I also think that, oftentimes when we have ballots that have so many things on them, as it tends to be the case in California, I think our last November ballot, there was like 6 pages and you're just like, how's this thing still going? A lot of folks in our community may not take the time to, I know a lot of people do take the time and that's wonderful, but often when you have a ballot that's that long, people just want to know, I'm voting for president and I'm voting for one thing, hopefully they vote for city council, and then they don't want to take the time to do the research, and so they're looking for trusted voices to say, how does this impact me here in Healdsburg, or how, what do I do on this? And maybe they'll ask the guy next door, or maybe they'll ask, the lady at the coffee shop, but hopefully we would be able to have a position as a city if we're able to get there, because I do think that our voice matters, especially in some of these more local issues where folks really aren't going to take the time to dig deep. And of course, if they do take their own time, great, then they've made their own decision without, looking at what we want to do. So all that to be said, I think a simple majority to me felt like it was not enough. A unanimous decision felt like it would be rare, maybe, that we would actually reach a unanimous decision, and maybe that's okay. But then I felt like, well, maybe the right kind of happy medium would be a supermajority, which would be 4 out of 5, which is kind of, splitting the baby a little bit, but I think would help us find kind of a consensus voice in sometimes these like tricky, nuanced ballot initiatives where it might not be a perfect initiative, but we choose to move forward with something. Thanks.
And we do have times when we do need to have a supermajority on votes, like emergency ordinances and whatnot. So it's not out of the question that it happens. So, Chris.
So, in response to the question I raised, is it your opinion that if the council does support a ballot measure, that could have an impact on the community's votes, on the support for the initiative at large, have some impact?
I think so. I mean, sometimes for worse, but yes, I think people do, especially with long ballots, or if there's like, say it's a school bond or something where they're not going to pay to do a marketing effort for the campaign because they're not going to spend money, they being the school district in that case, or the city puts a bond on and we get a letter assigned, that I would hope that we would take a position, because a lot of folks in the community would want to know, what does the city think about this? So
I think that's an important point, and I appreciate that. The alternative is that we all make, our personal positions known outside of the council, but it has a different sort of weight when you do that. Thank you.
Councilmember Hagley, you had a question?
I think the one question I had was, which I don't know if we've really talked about. So we've taken positions publicly here from the dais. And I cannot remember if we then, as part of that, I don't think that the city then has said the city council has taken a position in support or opposition of this. And that would be a no-no, correct or no? Like if we in public say, we're going to support measure XYZ, and then that's where it ends, and it's really up to the press or us individually to say, yeah, the council supported it, or is that something that could be the city manager update, the city council supported measure this? Say a countywide ballot measure.
I'm not sure I quite followed your question, but I think you're asking what are the circumstances in which the council can take a position?
But no, okay, so let's use measure J.
Yeah.
So we as a council, I think 4132, whatever it was, supported to oppose measure J. And that's where it stopped. Council meeting's over, then I think the newspaper picked it up, the endorsers had stuff, but it wasn't included in the city manager update. Oh, by the way, in this election, the city council voted to support no one J. So is there that line that if we as a council support something, is that something that can then be promoted to come to your point of nobody's watching? And I mean, it's really hypothetically, but just hypothetically, then what's, we're just doing that so that the proponents of whatever that measure could say to, add our name to the list.
Yes.
But it can't be promoted through the
You can't
city
use, the
update or
city
anything.
can't use city resources to promote it, except you can take a vote on the dais. And the theory is that when you do it on the dais during a council meeting, the public can weigh in and the public can hear you stating your reasons for supporting it and not supporting it, and you can hear their reasons. But you cannot use any resources beyond the time in that meeting to support or oppose a ballot measure.
Thank you.
And I would hope when the public gets to used to our new software for agendas, that they realize that the meeting is right there in the agenda. So I hope that we get more people will be watching and following.
I've said this to Councilmember Hagley, and I say it to you. I appreciate your optimism. I hope you're right. I think we can open this up to public comment. If anybody would like to comment on this item, please come forward. Not seeing anyone, we'll bring it back. What are we looking for here? Some consensus?
Yes, consensus. So either to elect to not take positions on local ballot measures or elect to take positions. So I'm hearing we might want to elect to take positions. Am I getting a consensus on that?
Yeah, I think so. And I guess the other question I would ask, because you mentioned it, is if it's just Sonoma County measures local, meaning Sonoma County, and for example, Prop 50, which the supervisors just took a position on. So is that something that this council could conceivably be looking at taking a position on?
I would prefer to keep it Sonoma County or the city of Healdsburg.
Okay.
Direct.
Same.
You agree? You all agree?
Same.
Okay.
Sorry if I'm doubling down on this, but just to clarify, what I'm hearing is that the council will not that we're not changing the vote, but the council would not, per the protocols, take positions on state propositions.
I think we should personally just leave it open, but in order to put something on the agenda, we would need a certain number of people to agree to put on the agenda.
Which we're still talking about.
Soon about another part of the protocol, foreshadowing a future item. But just to say that, like, say there's something that's very clearly in the best interest of Healdsburg and for our residents, I can't imagine what that would be. That's a state ballot initiative. We may want to have that option open to us. But again, we would need more than one person to want to put it on the agenda to even talk about it. So I think historically we've never done anything outside of Sonoma County, but never say never, I suppose.
Yeah, you don't know what's going to come up, Ron.
BAFA was that was outside of Sonoma County. So we did discuss that a little bit. So
BAFA.
Barrier housing. And that does affect us, even though it's a statewide issue. So
So, yeah, I would agree that we should leave it open because it doesn't get on the agenda unless we all agree, or at least three of us right now agree to put it on the agenda, right? So it's not everything that comes up. And there could conceivably be something we'd want to talk about. The other thing I want to mention too is that normally we are unanimous on these things. So it may just be my own angst on this that gets us here. But I do think it should have still think it should have a higher bar than resolutions that we're required to, pass related to the city itself. But so I'd like to see, if nothing else, the supermajority vote, if I could get
I'm comfortable with the supermajority.
Okay.
I think that's a good middle
middle
path on
ground.
this, yeah.
I agree.
Okay, so we've got three, maybe more.
We need a majority.
Now, on this, we only need a majority, yeah. So, and I think then the other thing is, you mentioned to have this be a separate protocol from, what was your asterisk on that?
It was just having the city council memorialize this. So whether it's in a separate policy, similar to the legislative actions, or if we just embed it within the protocols.
We could leave that up to the subcommittee to put the wordsmithing on that one. Yes? Okay. Okay, we're good with that then?
Yeah.
Moving right along. New business, we don't have any. Oh, I'm sorry. You had something else.
I
Yes.
just had a couple next steps that we can skip right over.
Thank you.
but they're-
Thank you.
I mean, they're really just next steps. So next steps, subcommittee and staff will continue to review the protocols. So we have our next meeting set already. We'll compile the recommended changes for council consideration. And again, the document will be coming as one document and track changes. And then we do anticipate one, maybe two more items will come to the full city council for discussion before we bring the final recommendation back to you. So just wanted to make sure that you are all aware that we might be having this discussion at least one or two more times on a different topic. So with that, that's it for tonight. And thank you for your help and your feedback.
Thank you. Ron, you had some?
yeah, I just wondered, because it's a 30-page manual that we have, will there be discussions of things that outside of what the subcommittee identifies that maybe a council member might see that they wanted to discuss at a future meeting?
I think that's where when we get the red line, that would be the time to say, I want to add this or not.
All right.
Yeah, because we had heard some input already from council on things that you wanted to talk about, and that's on the list of items to bring back. So they're not ready yet, but yeah, good. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to new business, which we don't have any. That's always easy. Council reports on matters of interest occurring since previous regular meeting, expense report, reimbursement reports. Who would like to start? Councilmember Kelly?
Oh, sorry. I don't want to start. I was waving at the fire truck going by.
Councilmember Hagley?
Nothing to report.
Oh, that's good. Oh, not good, but easy. Ron?
Yeah, I was with Vice Mayor at the Villa ribbon cutting. Actually got to see a part of the villa that I've never seen before, the downstairs. As many times as I have been in that building, I didn't even know how you got there, but that was a very nice, it was nice to see what they're doing. It's nice to see the improvements that were already done on that. I did watch the county budget hearing because that was interesting. I was concerned if anything would affect us. At the Sonoma County Mayors and Council Members Association, we got an update and information that Councilman Hagley was there from Mike McGuire about some things that are going forward. Also was happy to be a first-time judge on the Halloween contest on Saturday, Halloween contest. That was really cute. The winner was off the charts. A couple of the winners were just pretty amazing. And then after that, I made it up to the From Ashes We Rise at the Community Center. The Corazon had their program graduates that had been really, it's a nice program that they are preparing these future leaders, how to go forward and overcoming adversity. It was a very nice meeting that they had up there, presentation. So that's it for me.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Vice Mayor?
I don't have anything extra to report. I did go up to the Villa event, and that was it was really nice to see firsthand all the work they've been doing up there, and it's an exciting future for the Villa. I just wanted to mention that on Saturday it's Pumpkin Festival time at the Farmers Market. As usual, I'll be playing a small role with that, but I welcome everybody to come and participate, rain or shine.
Thank you. Councilmember Kelly.
I attended the Smart Train Board of Directors meeting last week, as well as a Coastal Commission hearing down in Redondo Beach. And then last night had the rare opportunity to go hear the Yale University Whiffenpoofs a cappella group, which is the oldest a cappella group in the nation. And they were here in Healdsburg because one of their members grew up in Healdsburg. And so she is, they allow women now, which is a new thing. And also, so she is in the group, and they try to travel to everybody's hometown of the, I think 12 or 14 members. So they performed at the Raven last night to a sold out audience, and it was magnificent. So really all the Healdsburgers showed up and were very proud. And we actually had an alumni in the audience who lives locally. And so he was class of 1972 of Yale Whiffenpoofs, and he got up on stage and sang with them for their finale. And it was very sweet. So Healdsburg represented well last night.
That sounds wonderful. Yeah. So I attended the League of Cities annual meeting in Long Beach. It was fascinating, well attended by, thousands of people. City managers, I met the deputy city manager from Benicia. It was pretty interesting talking with her. A lot of other great people. That was fun. I also then did my California Veterinary Medical Board meeting in Sacramento last week. That's also very interesting and completely different than anything you could imagine. But they're starting to do some more advocacy for shelter medicine, spay-neuter type stuff. So I'm the right person on that board at this point to push for that. I'm not a vet. I'm not trying to protect my practice. So, and what else? Oh, well, the pet parade was great. Ron, Jeff, Jason, great judges did a good job. It was fun. A lot of good people there. We had, I don't know how many small dogs. I thought they were never going to end. There were a lot of them, right? And one cat. So, we had another, we had one cat. And it was fun. It just is. It's a great event. So, it was other. The category was other.
And the group category is interesting too.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you all for doing that and being there, and come next year. It'll be fun again. So with that, I don't know, where's my gavel? I can't gavel us out. So, but 7:32.